Hey everyone, and welcome to Chef AJ Live. I'm your host, Chef AJ, and this is where I introduce you to amazing people like you who are doing great things in the world that I think you should know about. My guest today is Marion Meloni. She is the CEO of Doctors for Nutrition. Please welcome her to the show. It's very nice to meet you.
Hello, Chef AJ. Nice to meet you too. And thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to introduce our plant-based experts and the work we do here at Doctors for Nutrition, all the way from Australia.
I can't wait to learn more about your wonderful organization. But before you tell us about it, maybe you could tell us a little bit about yourself and how you first discovered whole food plant-based nutrition.
So it was back in 2017. At the time, I had been battling chronic pain issues for many years. And I think back then I was at the peak of the pain. So I was in pain every day. And it was interrupting my work life and my daily life. And so I was looking for ways to get over the pain as it was getting worse and worse. I had seen a lot of healthcare professionals. I hadn't found yet a way to overcome the chronic pain that I had developed due to a work injury. And then one day I saw an ad for a health and food related documentary that was screening here in Canberra. Which was followed by a panel discussion with doctors and health professionals. And I thought that looked interesting. So I just went along, and the documentary was What the Health. And the evidence presented in the documentary seemed very compelling to me. And the section about how food impacts inflammation particularly caught my attention, as I had been wondering whether there was a correlation between my pain and inflammation in the body. And then the panel discussion afterwards with some doctors who actually are now on the Doctors for Nutrition Advisory Council, that conversation just reinforced the fact that the evidence was indeed overwhelming. So the food that we eat directly impacts our health in a much more significant way than I thought initially. So I changed my diet the following day. I think I threw out what was in my fridge and started over. And then I did more research because I wanted to make sure that I was doing the right thing. So I came across the work of PCRM, Dr. McDougall, Dr. Campbell, the Chazets. I bought some new cookbooks. I listened to new podcasts, and I really wanted to deepen my understanding of this new way of eating. And that's how I came to hear about Doctors for Nutrition, actually. I created the year after.
Wow. So, I hear so many people say that it was a documentary like What the Health or Eating You Alive or Forks Over Knives that really caused them to change their diet and lifestyle.
Yeah, it was it was just pretty amazing that's all it took. And then just a bit more research reinforced, this is good. I need to do this.
Had you heard of a plant-based diet before that?
No, I probably heard about a vegan diet, but I didn't know anything about it. And I certainly didn't know any of the evidence that was presented to me. And I just didn't know that there were so many diseases that were affected by the food we eat. I mean, I knew about diabetes. I think that's a common one that people know about, but I was amazed to find that the food that we eat also has an impact on other diseases like dementia. And this just made the argument for adopting a whole food plant-based diet even stronger for me. It was a kind of a no-brainer.
So you literally did it overnight.
I did. And surprisingly, it was pretty easy. I don't remember struggling at all about it. And I was eating a pretty standard Australian diet before. So, meat or fish or eggs or dairy every day. I ate a lot of vegetables, but definitely not as much as that I eat now. I just changed overnight. I bought some new cookbooks, as I said. I read up a bit more. I changed where I shopped, and just I gradually built up more skills, and gradually I think my diet became even more varied as I added, I discovered more pulses and more whole grains. But changing overnight was, I think, an easier thing for me, and I wanted to do it fully to see the impact that it will have on my health, and not do it halfway, because I think it may have made it harder to see what impact it was having on my body.
What impact did it have? Did you notice any changes?
Yes, I did. So I, fast forward 5 years or so, I'm now pain free. So which is pretty amazing compared to where I was when I watched that documentary. I also made a lot of different changes, though, I must say. I think food had a part to play. But there are many layers in the reasons why you end up with chronic pain. And so I dug into all of those layers, and I made modifications to many things like my sleep, my lifestyle, my stress levels. And so the way I worked, the way I thought about the pain, all that really helped. And I'm sure diet has had a part, but I think overall, it's probably even have a bigger benefit than I even, initially went in for, which is around my general health. I think I am healthier than I was, and I'm sure it contributed to the recovery from the chronic pain.
Well, with the change of diet came a change of job as well.
Yeah, that was not something I had anticipated walking into that cinema on that day. I had spent about 10 years working as a consultant for a large consulting company. And I specialized in people and change management. So I worked with varied organizations, private and public service, around bringing people along the journey that an organization is taking on for different reasons. So I did see a little bit of a crossover with what we're trying to do here at Doctors for Nutrition. Is we're trying to change not only how people think about food, but also how they use food as part of their toolkit as medical professionals. And also I think it's a huge society change that we're trying to influence and to bring people along that journey. So I think there is a nice connection, even though what I was doing was quite different. I think there was a lot of applicable skills that I could apply to Doctors for Nutrition.
Who founded Doctors for Nutrition?
Sorry, say that again.
Who founded it? Who
founded it? You'll meet Helene. So Dr. Helene Rotes founded Doctors for Nutrition in 2018, and she's a doctor. She practiced in the Netherlands, and then she'll tell you how she found out about whole food plant-based nutrition, which is quite an interesting story. And then, like me, did more research, was amazed that she didn't know this before as a doctor, and after a few years, she decided we need this in Australia. We had no voice singing the whole food plant-based song in Australia, so she founded DFN back then.
Right. And so people that haven't heard about your organization, what exactly does DFN do? Can anybody join or support their work?
Yeah, so we're a charity, and we're dedicated to bringing whole food plant-based nutrition to the forefront of healthcare in Australia and in New Zealand. And I have the pleasure of working with a team of medical doctors and dietitians, and some of them you'll meet this week. And I guess just like many other Western countries, poor nutrition is a leading cause of disease and early death in Australia and New Zealand. And as you know, and as well as your listeners, nutrition is one of the main risk factors for preventable chronic diseases such as type 2 diabetes and cardiovascular disease and cancers. And unfortunately, due to a lack of nutrition education provided during their medical training and immense time pressures once they're practicing, most health professionals in Australia and New Zealand feel unprepared to counsel patients in nutrition. I mean, I saw so many healthcare professionals when I was trying to get over the chronic pain issues that I had, and no one talked to me about diet ever. That was not an obvious candidate to explore and to look into. And now I understand why, is that this is not something that they've been taught, and that's part of their regular practice. So that's what we're trying to address. We're trying to address that gap in knowledge and we want to raise awareness on how healthy food can save lives. So we're working to transform, really, that's how we see it, the healthcare system. So disease prevention and addressing the cause of common diet-related condition is the new normal. And we think this can't happen without the support and influence of health professionals. So we're really focusing on providing education and tools to healthcare practitioners to drive the adoption of whole food plant-based dietary advice into patient treatment plans. So every patient, just like I was at the time, gets asked about what does your diet look like, and let's see what we can do to address the issues that we have around it, and make some changes if needed to your diet. And so our information is of course available to members of the public, but we really focus on bringing that tools and knowledge to healthcare professionals.
And are they all doctors, or are there other healthcare professionals that also join DFN?
We have, so in terms of the people that support us, or people that we reach, it's a really wide reach. We have a lot of doctors, obviously, a lot of general practitioners, specialists, but we also have nurses, allied health professionals, so physios, pharmacists. We have a lot of people that have obviously an interest in nutrition, obviously dietitians and nutritionists. There's really a wide range of people that decide to support Doctors for Nutrition, or decide to come to some of our webinars or our events, or download our resources. It's quite nice to see that spread actually is growing.
But are the actual DFN members mostly doctors?
Yeah, so our team, our internal team has a mix of professionals, like people with a marketing background or communications background or education background. One of our staff members is a pharmacist, so she works one day in the pharmacy. And then within the board, you'll meet Helene and Luke, who are two doctors who are on our board. And then you'll meet some of our advisory council members this week. But we have a doctor and a dietitian representing the whole of all the different states in Australia. And we also have a couple of students as well that are studying either medicine or dietetics.
Nice. How did they find out about you to join?
Some of them were people that we knew already. So when we started, when Helene started the organization, she reached out to those people that she knew that were already practicing plant-based nutrition for themselves and for their patients. Some of them we found about along the way, either through our events or people reached out directly to us. And then when there's a good fit, and we can see that they will provide a lot of value to Doctors for Nutrition, and they want to be involved, and we invite them to be part of the advisory council.
What do you exactly do for the organization?
So I'm the CEO, so I lead the team, and we're a pretty small team, so the role of the CEO is pretty broad and does a little bit of everything, but I make sure that that we have a clear strategy ahead in terms of where we're putting our efforts into. Obviously we're charities, so fundraising and managing the budget and all that is a big role, and just making sure that we are meeting the goals that we give ourselves to in terms of education and advocacy.
Nice. How can we support your work?
Many ways. Well, the first thing is you can check out our website, and we have lots of different resources. I'm sure you'll hear about it this week. We have a great recipe book, for example, that we developed last year. We have some tools for healthcare professionals that healthcare professionals can order for free if they want a printed copy, or they can download some electronic copy. So our website is a great source of information, and we have a regular newsletter that people can subscribe to. Social media, obviously, is a great way to follow. People are welcome to attend all of our events. They are mostly free, usually free. And then if you want to support us, there's a donate page on our website, and we welcome any donations, smaller or bigger.
Oh, that's great. Do you find that there's more of an interest in healthy eating in general down under these days?
I think so, yeah. I think the trend is definitely on the way up, but we definitely have a long way to go. But it's so pleasing to see the number of practitioners that said, oh, I just found out about what you do, and oh wow, I've looked into the research, and I'll give you an example actually of someone that we recently contacted us. It was a general practitioner in a small town here in Australia, and she attended one of our webinars, and I think she saw the ad on Facebook or something. She didn't know about us. She didn't know about plant-based nutrition, and she was quite just like me, just struck with the information that she had just heard about. So she went to do more research. She read the China study. She listened to different podcasts, read up some books, and then just like, okay, I'm just going to change my diet. So she changed her own diet. She's 65. She saw her cholesterol drop within weeks. And she thought she was always healthy, and yeah, she just saw the effects on her. So then she became one of her biggest advocates with her own patients, just like that, just after attending one of our events. And she sends me regular updates on some of her patients. I saw someone new today, and they took on my advice, and I saw them 3 weeks later, and their whole cupboard looks completely different at home in their kitchen, and their wife is on board. And so that's the kind of story that we really like to hear, and we hope to hear more and more of those stories in the future.
That is fantastic. What can you give me an example of like typical Australian food? I've never been to your beautiful country, but I mean, you hear about shrimp on the Barbie, but what is your country known for eating?
I think it's a bit of a mix of a lot of culture. Australia has a quite a varied population, which is wonderful. So there's a lot of influences from different countries. You can get really nice Chinese, Japanese, Indian, Korean food, as well as European, African food. So there's a lot of different variety, which is lovely. But I guess if I was to present a typical, Aussie meal, it will be the traditional meat and 3 veg. Australians do love barbecue, so there's a lot of sausages with bread and salads. Prawns on the barbecue is pretty popular too. When you look at the statistics, Australia does have a really high consumption of dairy and meats compared to the rest of the world. I think we're one of the top. So it's pretty meat heavy and dairy.
Wow. Yeah, that's interesting. Is heart disease and obesity as prevalent in your country as it is in mine?
Yeah, it is, unfortunately.
Wow. Well, hopefully your team will be doing something to ameliorate that. I look forward to meeting all the fabulous healthcare professionals you have lined up for us the next 5 days.
Yeah, well, let me tell you a little bit then about who you're going to meet and what they're going to talk to you about. So as we talked about, you first meet with Dr. Helene Royce and her daughter, Dr. Juliette Royce. And Helene co-founded DFN in 2018. And she's going to tell you about that journey and how she's come to whole food plant-based nutrition, and how she established the only whole food plant-based charity here in Australia. And they're both going to tell you as well how they adopted a whole food plant-based diet in their family. And they also talk about the importance of nutrition in all life stages, in particular in relations to heart disease. Then you're going to meet with Dr. Adrian Christie and his wife, Jenny. And Adrian is a general practitioner in a small town in South Australia. And he was introduced to whole food plant-based nutrition by his wife, Jenny, more than 30 years ago. And they're going to tell you about their journey living and practicing in a rural area, and some of their success stories with their patients, but also some of the hurdles they face in educating their patients and others about nutrition. And Adrian also has an amazing story of his own to tell, so I hope that comes out. And then later in the week, you'll meet with Joel Craddock. Joel is a dietitian, and he's just about to complete his PhD in nutrition. And his research for his PhD focused on plant-based eating patterns and health and exercise performance outcomes. And he'll tell you about his research journey, which has been a long and hard one. But he's also a plant-powered athlete, actually, and he's done several Ironman competitions and triathlons, which is pretty inspiring. Then you'll meet with Dr. Renee Thomas, and she's an Aussie lifestyle medicine expert living in the US. And she's going to tell you about her journey and her experience working as a lifestyle medicine practitioner and in preventive medicine. And finally, you'll meet with Dr. Luke Wilson. And Luke is one of our board members, as I said, and he's also a general practitioner and he lives in New Zealand. And he's going to tell you about the different things that he's been involved in spreading the whole food plant-based nutrition message in New Zealand, including his latest appearance in the documentary Milked, and the work he's doing with his patients. And he's also going to tell you about the research that he conducted, which was a pretty remarkable randomized controlled trial using whole food plant-based nutrition in the community for obesity, heart disease, and diabetes. So pretty exciting week ahead with all these amazing people. So yeah, I think it's going to be great.
Well, I can't wait to meet all of them. And hopefully this will reach far and wide so that even people in your country will see that and get to know a little bit more about your wonderful organization.
Yes, thank you so much again. We're so grateful to share the work that we've been doing here in Australia and New Zealand. And thank you very much. Enjoy the week.
Yeah, I'm so excited. Thank you so much, Marion. And thanks all of you for watching another episode of Chef AJ Live. Please come back tomorrow as we start the week with all of these wonderful plant-based experts for Down Under. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.